Hello and welcome to a special bonus round of Retro Encounter, the RPG fan podcast that is not attached to current events, where we podcast about whatever we're interested in, and today is a special one indeed. My name is Mike Sollosi, I'm Monsoon on the boards, and you have probably heard me on too many episodes of this show already. So, let me introduce my co-hosts today. First we have reviews editor Alana Hagues.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Diving Falcons on the boards, and you've probably missed me for a little while.
Maybe I'm not sure. You may be on the episode right before this because we record them way in advance and shuffle them around a lot. So it may not have been that long, but for you it definitely has been too long. So it's an honor to have you back, Alana.
Yeah, always fun to be back.
And also we have reviews editor Nick Ransbottom.
Hey, it's good to be here.
And Nick, this is your first episode of Retro, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. I know you were on an episode of Random a month ago or two, but this is your first Retro. And that's awesome, because we are always happy to have more RPG fan staff podcasting with me. I know listeners get bored of me and Josh almost every episode. I wish we could get some more people in this, and I'm so happy that we have a new crop of recent editors like Nick that can do this for us. So anyway, today is a special episode that we sort of decided to do on a lark, but it's been an idea that's been floating around for at least a few months. And Nick, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. In Slack and Trello and some other RPG fan venues, I make fun of you for not having played games before. Fairly often. It is a regular thing. And so, and of course, I mean it in jest. I'm not actually thinking about kidnapping you to play old Super Nintendo games, even though maybe I have threatened to literally do that.
That's such a good idea, though.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll just lock him in a basement with like 3 good Super Nintendo RPGs, and once he finishes 2 of them, he gets food and water. It's perfect.
This should be our hiring drive.
Yeah, exactly.
I am slightly frightened.
You only have to finish 2 of them, and you can pick the 2 shorter ones. I'll give you GameFAQs and HowLongToBeat.com.
Okay. If I get HowLongToBeat.com, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I believe in you, Nick. So anyway, sometimes we shame each other for not having played certain games that other of us hold dearly, and of course that's all a matter of perspective, whether a game is something you should have played or not, and you can even get into weird elitist ideas thinking things like that. So anyway, we thought it would be a fun idea to have a confessional, where a couple of us could confess to others that I have not played this game, I have not played that game, and just to get these sins off our chest, and have understanding people to speak with that could maybe provide, insight or recommendations, or whether something should be played or not, or maybe play this game, not that game in a certain series, something like that. And so, and listeners will be able to listen to us, express our shame, and delight in us making fun of each other for it. So, does that sound like a good idea to you two?
Yeah. I'm ready. I have no shame.
Okay, I believe that, but I'll try and instill some in you once I hear the games that you haven't played that are probably my favorite games from childhood, since I think both of you are practically preteens. So.
Well. Okay, fair enough.
Right. Okay, Nick, do you mind going first?
Oh, okay. I have a big one, you guys.
Okay, well, before then, Nick, how long has it been since your last confession?
At least 21 years.
Oh, yikes. Okay, where to begin? Okay, well, hit me up with your first game now, Nick. Or series. Frame it however you like. Game, series, maybe an entire genre. It's up to you how to present it.
I have not played the Chrono series. Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross.
Oh boy. Nick.
Well.
Nick.
So the basement thing? Chrono Trigger's really short.
I can make those 2 of the 3 games. Easy.
The worst part is, I own both of them.
Oh boy, buddy, come on.
I know.
So it's not an issue of access. And
No,
it's probably not an issue of time because I know you just finished Dragon Quest VII, which is a 70-hour game.
Yeah, let's not talk about how long that game took.
Right. And I hope it's not an issue of interest because I mean those are two all-time classics. Now, Nick, full disclosure, Chrono Trigger is my favorite video game ever, and I like Chrono Cross a lot. For a while, I was a bit of a Chrono Cross hater because I was like 15 and I really liked Chrono Trigger when that came out. But man, they're two all-time classics. Chrono Trigger is the Square team when they were at their peak and borrowing the Dragon Quest writer and artist. The writer of Dragon Quest VII wrote Chrono Trigger, or at least a lot of it, and was the story lead on it. And Chrono Cross was written by the scenario writer of Chrono Trigger, who's not the same as the story planner. And that guy also wrote Xenogears, Xenosaga. That's Masato Kata, by the way, and a bunch of other classics.
Yep.
Chrono Trigger was called the Dream Project for a lot of reasons, and I haven't even mentioned the music, which is a delight. So, what the hell are you doing, Nick?
Okay, if I tell you why I have not played it,
It will just make me upset.
It will.
Okay, well, I'll try my best anyway. Go ahead.
Aside from the fact that so many people grew up with it and consider it a staple of the genre,
Yes and yes.
I have zero interest in it.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm going to like the battle system, and that's always the main thing for me with a role-playing game.
Okay. Well.
Is Mike okay? Are you just...
All right.
Like,
well. Okay.
He's in shock.
No, I'm not in shock. I just have to gather my thoughts a little bit. They've been scattered all over the room. Nick, you just finished playing Dragon Quest VII. Chrono Trigger is a combat system like it. It's basically turn-based, but also incorporates movement. The speed stat determines how quickly you can take actions. Everything is on a single screen interface that takes up less than a quarter of the screen. You can switch between character actions easily. Your characters can team up to do team attacks. There's 7 characters in the game that have a very diverse set of moves. I don't think the combat holds back from Chrono Trigger. And also, it doesn't use random battles. You encounter enemies in the field. Some fights can't be avoided. Some are easy to avoid. If you can play a game as old school as Dragon Quest VII, I don't see how the combat of Chrono Trigger would be a handicap. So, Alana, do you have any thoughts in general? I've been talking too much already.
No, it's fine. I would. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. It's a lot more dynamic. Having not played Dragon Quest VII, I can't really do the comparison, but there's a lot more variety, I would feel. Whereas Dragon Quest VII and some earlier Final Fantasies are like job-based. This one, you've got characters who can do double moves or triple moves, which add a lot of variety to the battle system, and it's really fast for a Super Nintendo turn-based battle system. Actually,
Yes,
I would say.
it moves very quickly, even more quickly than the Final Fantasy games 4, 5, and 6 that use a similar battle system.
And see, that's what the problem is. I'm not sure if I'm going to like how fast it is, because I'm going back and playing Final Fantasy X-2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to adjust the speed on that in the remastered version because it's too fast for my brain to keep up with.
Well,
because I'm an idiot.
Fair enough.
You can set the speed in Chrono Trigger to either active or wait. Active means enemies can take actions while you're choosing your next move, and wait meaning enemies will not take actions while you choose the next move. But it's I mean, I'm used to it being a fast-feeling system, and but I don't. But I mean, it's not like an action. It's not an action RPG. It is definitely a turn-based game, but the turn-based combat feels fast, and to me that is a huge plus. If turn-based combat feels fast and easy, then that's terrific. I think that's true of Persona 4 and FF10, and I love those two combat systems for it. But Nick, I mean, I'm only using Dragon Quest VII because I know we've talked about you playing it before, and so it's an example I know I can use. Chrono Trigger is the same writer and artist as that game, with the best Square team from the 90s during their golden age. And I think it's a must-play for any fan of RPGs.
Let's talk about Chrono Cross then. Is that as essential?
I can't comment because this is one game I haven't played either. And actually, coming off of your comment on the battle system, part of the reason that I'm put off of Chrono Cross is the battle system because I know it's vaguely percentage based, but I'm definitely going to play it. It's definitely on the top of my list. So I'll defer to Mike because you clearly know quite a lot about Well, you know more about Chrono Cross than I do, definitely.
Well, Chrono Cross is interesting. It's a bit of a divisive game. It came out in 2000. It did not have the exact same team as Chrono Trigger. It was a lot of Square personnel that had worked on Xenogears and a few other games, but it didn't. Yuji Horii and Akira Toriyama did not come back for it. But it did have the scenario writer of Chrono Trigger. The guy that wrote all of the Zeal sequences and a lot of the individual dialogue was the main writer for Chrono Cross. And I say it was divisive because it is a sequel to Chrono Trigger. It addresses the events of Chrono Trigger, and you see Chrono Trigger character cameos in it. But it also is not a sequel to Chrono Trigger in that it uses a sort of an alternate dimensions gimmick instead of a time travel gimmick. And detractors of Chrono Cross will say it craps all over the story of Chrono Trigger, which I disagree with. Maybe when I was 16 and angry on the internet, I might have supported statements like that, but I do not today. It's excellent. Chrono Cross goes some really fascinating story places. The cast is incredibly diverse. There's something between 45 and 50 characters, and depending on the actions you take, you'll get maybe about half of those on your team. And the combat is really interesting and fun. It's a 6 elemental system that has you manipulating different elements in different space and different sort of time and status stuff in ways that felt ahead of their time in 2000. And I mean, 2000 being an incredibly strong year for RPGs, it was the same. That was the Square Enix's year of JRPG when Legend of Mana and Final Fantasy IX also came out. And Skies of Arcadia came out in the Dreamcast this year. That was a really good time for PS1 RPGs, and a lot of people would put Chrono Cross as the best RPG of that era. It was one of the first perfect 10s on GameSpot. And yeah, it does a lot of things really well. Some fans of Chrono Trigger love it, and others hate it because of the way it follows Chrono Trigger's plot. I'm avoiding spoilers here, but I think I would play Chrono Trigger first, but I think Chrono Cross is an excellent game, and it is a must-play if you played and liked Chrono Trigger, is my final word on it.
Well, I have no excuse. Like I said, I own both of them. I have the DS version of Chrono Trigger. I don't know. I guess I'm going to give it a shot this week, actually.
You absolutely should. And
do it.
Most of the people on RPG Fan staff have played Chrono Trigger. I'm just hazarding that guess.
Probably. If it helps, I was scared of playing it, so it didn't reach Europe until the DS version, and so when it came out on the DS,
you didn't get the PS1 version?
No, we didn't. So we had to wait until the DS version, and still I didn't pick it up because I was terrified because I knew how beloved it was, but I didn't actually play it until it came out on the Wii Virtual Console. Because I kind of wanted to play it in its most authentic-ish format. So it terrified me, but it's 16, 17 hours maybe at tops with everything. So it's a really breezy, easy kind of RPG to play, to steal a phrase from Child of Light thing that you did.
Well, I mean, that's a reference to old CoverGirl commercials.
Oh, well, never mind.
But never mind. No, but I would put Chrono Trigger in the similar category. I would say liberally 20-hour game. There's something of like 15 to 20 endings, so you can finish it much more quickly than 20 hours. There's a pretty robust end game, so it is not challenging to beat it in 15 hours. But I would recommend doing as much exploring as you can, especially in the last quarter of the game or so. But I think it's an all-time classic. I think the 7 main characters of it are iconic. Chrono Cross I would not say is as iconic, but is an excellent RPG of that time, and you really should play both, Nick. I mean, come on. Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross.
All right.
Okay.
I'll fire it up later tonight, actually.
Very cool. All right, Alana, how long has it been since your last confession?
Uh, Not as long as Nick. I would say probably a year and a half, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm a walking confession, unfortunately. I have an array of excuses, which most of them lie down to the fact that I live in Europe and not America. But
It's all right.
anyway,
We won't hold it against you.
but I guess this confession might hurt. It's not so much as a big series as say Chrono, but it's probably quite dear to the RPG fan community because way before RPG fan, the website was called LunaNet.
Oh
And
no.
so I have never played a Luna game ever, and I guess I can use the Europe excuse, but there have been re-releases, and I just have not got around to them. And actually, I'm virtually clueless on the entire series, and I've managed to get through a year and a half on the site nearly without saying it. So, I'm
Well,
like,
okay, Alana, we are humbled that you chose to confess this to us. But I am also a little disappointed in you because Lunar 1 and 2 are just awesome. They really are. They're from
Well,
the Game Arts team that made the Grandia series, and I think they also co-developed one of the Super Smash Brothers games. It was either I think it was Brawl for the Wii one. But they've been making RPGs for years, and the first two Lunar games, I played their PS1 versions. I'm not very familiar with the Sega CD originals, but I hold the PS1 Lunar Silver Star and Lunar Eternal Blue in very high esteem.
exactly, and they look like something I would play because I love Grandia. I
Mm.
absolutely love the style of Grandia, and I've looked at it since, and I just really like the way it looks, but it's almost like it's not at the top of my list, so it's just never made it up to the top. So I've spent the last couple of years covering other series that I've not touched, but Luna I've never quite got round to. So I need not convincing, but need like forcing to play it almost.
I need to confess something as
Oh,
well,
oh
going
boy.
off of this. I've been silent because I've been trying to think of a way to break this to you. I also have not played this series.
Oh, guys, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. All right. Well, okay, I'll get into Lunar a little deeper. It's this is a little weird to say, but I think this is one of the first games that I played that I would call sort of an anime RPG because it's the story and some of the presentation of it is less rooted in, you know, what I would consider traditional Japanese RPGs, like just like your Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest games that are a lot of that are full of personality, but have pretty that they're just dialogue heavy, and the story is always framed just as sprites across the screen on the screen. But Lunar One has music scenes like music videos, and it's a lot more of a personal story than a Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest games because there's a lot of romance, there's a lot of what you might call anime character tropes, but it has a lot of over the top personality to it. It was localized or first localized by the old Working Designs team, so that there's a lot of flavor and pop culture references and a lot of irreverence in the script that was really, really refreshing to RPG players of that era that when they were used to maybe drier scripts. And I think Lunar 1 and 2 are terrific. I actually like Lunar 2 a little more, not because it has better characters or a better plot. That's probably that's probably the opposite of it. But Lunar 2 has maybe my favorite epilogue sequence in any RPG ever because, avoiding spoilers, the ending to Lunar 2 is a little sad, but then there's a lengthy epilogue sequence that has it like switch to a very satisfying closing plot threads happy ending that just maybe tears welled in my eyes when I finished Lunar 2 for the first time. And
Aw.
but also, Alana, you haven't had a ton of chances to replay it because it hasn't had a lot of re-releases. There was
No.
I think a GBA game called Lunar Legend, which is like a bastardized retelling of Lunar 1.
Yeah.
And then
I
there's the
think the
PSP there's the PSP Lunar 1, which was well received, but I have not played it.
Yeah, I think that the PSP. The problem is there are a couple of games actually that were really re-released on PSP, and because I no longer own a PSP, I've just not been able to get to it. And we did get a DS game, and I seem to remember
That is Lunar
there being
Dragon
an
Song.
yes, there is an umbrella in it somewhere, and I remember somebody playing it, and I just kind of remember looking at it and going,
It's
but like
it's
the
not
classic,
good.
yeah, it's
Lunar 1 and 2 are the ones you want to play, and they're both terrific. But Lunar
good.
Dragon Song was a pretty early DS RPG that is not going to make very many top 10 lists of DS RPGs. It's I can't recommend that game, even though I only played the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I've snuck into the soundtrack. This is how I've got more interested in Chrono Cross with the soundtrack. So I've done the same with Luna, and Noriyuki Iwadare, who does the Grandia soundtrack, does some of the Luna soundtrack, and they're great. So I need to get into these games clearly because there's something there.
I'm not sure if they're available on PSN or not.
I don't.
Silver Star Harmony is, and then that's it.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
the PSP remake of the first one.
Okay.
I would, if you can't get hold of the discs, I'm not sure if you can even play North American PS1 discs on European hardware. Can you?
Nope. We have to be illegal. So yeah.
You either have to resort to means outside the law, or at least try the PSP version of Silver Star. Which
Yeah.
if you can find a way to play them, I would recommend them. They're both excellent. They're a little bit more archaic than Grandia. It's again, these are early '90s games that had PS1 ports, and so there is a little bit of a grind to them, especially the first one. And the second one, I think, is a little bit more full-featured and balanced. But they're both excellent. I happily recommend both.
Okay.
Although Nick, I think this is a little bit less shameful than Nick's confession because he did not have an access problem and you did have a bit of an access problem. And also, I would say that maybe the Chrono games are a little more iconic than the Lunar games, even though the Lunar games have a lot of fans. But yeah,
Yes.
I recommend Lunar 1 and 2. They're great. Maybe avoid Lunar Dragon Song.
I will avoid Lunar Dragon Song, so I'll try and hunt down
Okay.
the others. Maybe an American PlayStation is the way forward.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that could probably work.
That
It's
would
a little,
work.
those two PS1 games are a little hard to find. I didn't play them until the early or mid 2000s, and I had to resort to eBay to get one. I found one of them in a thrift store and had to resort to eBay for the other. So I don't know
Okay.
how much they would set you back, but they're worth it.
I'll look into it. Definitely. For RPG fan, if anything.
Right. Now, okay, I guess it's my turn, and so for the first time, we'll talk about a game that I haven't played, since I've played all the ones that you've confessed to already. Alana, this confession is aimed at you a little bit. I mentioned on the episode 50 podcast a few months ago that I had played Shadow Hearts Covenant, but hadn't played the other two Shadow Hearts games.
Oh.
Now, when I examined my own save file to check to make sure that my disc worked so I could play it in a few months, it turns out I had only finished the first disc of Shadow Hearts Covenant. I haven't played any Shadow Hearts game to completion.
Mike! You lied to me!
I was confused. I played them during college. I'm sure an exam got in the way or something. But yeah,
Even I have played these games.
I haven't played them.
That's
I have tried the third one and gotten a few hours in, and I played I guess half of Covenant, but that's it.
Okay. Oh my, yeah. No, well, actually, to say that, it's not too bad because Shadow Hearts is, on the surface, I suppose, quite difficult to get into because it's not your typical JRPG and it's obviously set in the real world with real events, so, and it's got this, like, it's not, like, overly tropey, so, like, it's not, like, as warm and opening as a Tales game, or it's not as popular as a Final Fantasy game, but I'm not surprised because the first game has put a lot of people off because it has aged so badly as well, and it looks like a terrible like PS1 game in comparison. It came out at the same time as Final Fantasy X did.
Right, it was a pretty early PS2 RPG.
Exactly, and look at how much better Final Fantasy X looks. So a lot of people were obviously a bit put off by it. And Shadow Hearts 3 is definitely, I don't know whether I'd say it's the weakest of the trio, but story-wise.
I was actually the opposite of turned off by Shadow Hearts 3 just because of how wacky the main cast looked.
That's
Yeah.
my favorite one is from.
Oh, okay. Having replayed it, I replayed it this year, and when I played it a couple of years ago, because I came straight off the back of Covenant, I was expecting something a bit more darker, even though Covenant is much goofier than the original. But Shadow Hearts 3 was kind of too over the top for me, but the battle system is fantastic. And it
It's
improves on a couple of
wonderful.
things from Covenant, and Covenant's battle system is really, really, really fantastic as well. But having re-reviewed 3 this year, it's really, really good. Just don't let all the wackiness get in the way. And the story's not great. It's very atypical. But yeah, I can't believe you haven't finished Covenant though. We heard you play half of it.
That I consider that an essential RPG. Actually, is Covenant.
Ah, see, I would as well.
I liked it. I was really impressed by it, but I think just other things popped up because it was the mid 2000s, around when I was in college when I played it, and yeah, I don't have a good excuse. We are gonna play Shadow Hearts Covenant in December for episodes that we'll post in January. So I am gonna start playing that very soon, probably right after America celebrates Thanksgiving. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, so would you say, first of all, can you give me a quick estimate how long 1 and 2 are, and would it be a good idea or not a good idea for me to play 1 before 2? Even if it's archaic, I'll soldier through it, even if I have to use a FAQ or something.
Well, 1 is probably 20. I can't remember how long I spent playing it, but 25 to 30 hours, I would say at the most, if you do absolutely everything. I wouldn't say it's essential to play it because the plot for 2 is quite a bit different. The only thing that you probably, I don't think you've got quite that far yet in 2, but the only thing that keeps it going in 2 is the fact that there's the relationship between Yuri and Alice. So that's quite important.
I was aware that they had a relationship in 1, the 2 characters on the cover of Shadow Hearts 1, but they didn't explore it very much from what I played in 2.
Yeah, so it's touched on more in Disc 2, and well, things happen in Disc 2 that are more relevant to that, but it helps with the understanding and it helps with the emotional impact, but it's definitely not vital to the story. 2 is longer. 2 is 40 hours.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like 40, 45 hours.
Sure.
Yeah, right. Again, if you do everything, it's probably like 45, 50 hours, but they're not particularly difficult if you're good at timing things. And if you're really good at using the 3rd key, I think, which speeds it up, or gives you like 3 rotations of the Judgment Ring, then it's pretty good. But yeah, I wouldn't say play 1 necessarily, but it's not too long, and you could probably get it for a speed run. You could probably do it in like 20 hours if.
Okay, now we haven't really addressed it directly. The combat system in Shadow Hearts is called the Judgment Ring, but and it was. I haven't played 1, but I was led to believe that it's better in Covenant than in the first Shadow Hearts. And the
way better.
Yeah, and the Judgment Ring affects more than just combat. Could you give us an abridged version of what the Judgment Ring is to refresh my memory and also maybe scare me away from Shadow Hearts 1?
Well, basically, so the Judgment Ring is a time-based thing. So if you've seen Lost Odyssey, where you like hold down the shoulder button and then release it when you need to in a certain time frame, then it's similar to that. But basically, there are like hit zones in this ring, and you'll have a dial that moves around, and so you'll have an orange area and a red area, and an orange area is a hit.
Like a roulette wheel or Wheel of Fortune or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you press the X button, if you get it in the orange area, it's a hit. If you get it in red, it's a critical hit. And if you miss any of them, then your entire attack misses. So, well, not entire attack, but that hit will miss. The only difference in 1 and 2, if I remember, is the perspective on the ring is slightly nicer, and there's no customization in 1. So Alice has 1 hit zone, Yuri has 3 for the whole game in 1.
But you can use skills or items to affect the Judgment Ring in 2.
Yeah, you can. Okay. Also, you get like extra hit zones. So I think Yuri and Joachim can have 5, but they start with 3. So there's more customization, and also there's linked attacks, which are a load of fun. I have not played Covenant for a couple of years, so it's kind of picking from memory.
Do British people really pronounce the name Joachim as Joachim? Whack-em?
Joaquin.
I always thought it was Joaquin. But
Joaquin. Yes, probably Joaquin.
no.
Um,
You said whack-em. I like whack-em. Yeah, we're gonna
oh, did
whack him.
we're gonna whack him. Okay, it should be whack him. It should be whack him, definitely. Oh my goodness. It might just
Oh,
be
that's
my
that's,
accent.
that's terrific.
No, I think it's my accent. It should be a hard H kind of in there. Okay. But the Judgment Ring is, I would say, the best turn-based battle system you can get in an RPG.
Oh wow.
The only other one I would say rivals it is Grandia. So, which is like for a different reason more dynamic, but like there's an element of skill involved in Shadow Hearts, which I love. So please finish. You will be finishing Shadow Hearts. Put it that way.
Yeah, I will be finishing Covenant. I am contemplating trying to play the first game, the first Shadow Hearts before it. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but we will see. And we will be talking about Shadow Hearts Covenant on this show in another month and a half or so. So that's exciting.
It is exciting.
So, we've each confessed once. Is everyone ready for round 2?
I don't know if my ego is, but
Okay.
I am.
Okay. Should we do the same order as before, or do you want to mix it up a little bit? Nick, do you want to go first again, or should we change it up?
No, I'll go first again.
All right. So, Nick, how long has it been since your last confession?
About 25 minutes.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, that's good. That's very open of you. Thanks for sharing that with us, Nick. So, confess to us your RPG sins.
All right, I don't think I'm going to get yelled at as much for this one. It's a series I have always wanted to play. It's Xenosaga.
Okay.
No, again.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. You have something against Masato Kato, don't you?
I don't. I've
It's the same writer for those 3 games.
I have always wanted to play Xenosaga, but I was always intimidated by them as a kid. They just seemed so serious and so complex that I was like, I don't know if I can handle this.
I would agree. I'm in the same boat as you. I actually have the localization issue again, but interestingly, I do know a little bit about it, and I am a massive whore for Xenogears, so I have taken some interest in it. Europe only got 2, which is apparently the worst one. So, yeah, we got really lucky with that. But yeah, I've not played Xenosaga mainly for localization reasons. But I think even if we did get it, I would have been terrified by when it first came out.
Right. Okay. Now I think I made a mistake. Masato Kato did not write Xenosaga. He wrote Xenogears, and then he wrote Baten Kaitos or Baiten Katos.
Oh yeah, he
GameCube.
did.
Yeah, that's and I think I was mixing up Xenosaga with that game. So I was wrong, and I apologize for that earlier comment, Nick. But I have played the first Xenosaga, and that game has a reputation of being just an F-ton of cutscenes with very little action, or relatively little action, and that insult is fair. There are a ton of cutscenes in that game, and it is a pretty deep, convoluted sci-fi epic that a lot of people really like. I thought it was super cool. I sort of went in there knowing that there was a ton of FMV in it, so I was prepared for that. And it lives up to that reputation. But I thought it was really cool. I tried the beginning of Xenosaga 2 and did not like it as much. My favorite character in 1 who was just an absolute Terminator by the end of the game. Seemed to be weak and nerfed in 2 by comparison, and also the writing was clearly not as good. And also the each of the 3 games has a slightly different visual look to them. Like just look at one character and how they appear in each of the 3 games. They look distinctly different. Like they tried to update them with each game. So they end up being a little bit more super deformed in 1, a little awkwardly more human proportioned in 2, and then sort of a happy medium in 3. I haven't played 3, and I don't own it either, so I don't know if I'll ever get to that one. But I would at least try episode 1, Nick. I thought it was really good. It is bloated with cutscenes, but the characters are cool, the combat's cool, the story stuff leaves you in the dark a lot. It clearly is episode 1 of... It ended up being a trilogy, but I think they planned 5 or 6 games in the series.
And see, it sucks because I loved Xenogears. I thought that game was amazing. I love Xenoblade Chronicles. I have not been able to get my hands on this one. And, it's something I regret deeply. I feel like for my own personal taste in RPGs, like I've missed out on something.
They're cool games. I definitely recommend the first one. Don't recommend the second one as much. But the series has a lot of very dedicated fans that have been bugging Namco to release them on PC or continue the series or both. And I wouldn't object to any of that. But yeah, at least the first game is a very very entertaining PS2 RPG.
Yeah, I would kill for a PS4 re-release. So for the last game, Shadow Hearts, and for these, the both trios, re-release them on PSN, and I will lap them up.
Cool. So, all right.
So I guess it's me.
All right, guess it's you again, Alana. Now I'm guessing that it's also been about 25 minutes since your last confession.
I would say so.
Maybe a little less because we spent a lot of time talking about Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. So, so what is your next RPG sin to confess?
Okay. So I've been managing to clear out a lot of them recently, but there was a series or even a developer that I came across when I started working for RPG Fan called Falcom that many of the staff
Oh no.
Oh no. You're aware that just a month ago we even did an episode called Falcom Encounter.
I am so aware, and I am aware of how fantastic the music is in this for these games. And I think I'm going to specifically touch on one series for Falcom because I have played a large chunk of Trails of Cold Steel, which I love.
Okay, all right.
Got Trails in the Sky, which I'm really looking forward to playing.
Very cool.
Well,
I guess it's a spoiler, but you know that one character in Trails of the Sky survives to Trails of Cold Steel since he's the principal of the school.
Yes, it does. But this series, I think, well, it's more of an action RPG, if I understand.
Okay, so now I definitely know what series you're talking about.
Because I think you're a big fan of this series. You're a big fan.
I think I'm guilty of this one too.
I think you are, Nick, and I know for a fact that you are. But Alana, just go out and say it.
I think it's said East. I think
Yes.
we've pronounced East.
Yes, correct.
I also do not have an excuse for this because Mike Salbato bought me 2 games in the series. Now, I don't have my Steam library to hand, but he bought 2 of them for me as a gift. He was like, "Oh, you've never played an East game before? Here, have the 2 best ones."
If he said that, then he definitely gifted you Oath and Felghana and Origin. From what I know about Steam and what I know about Mike, those are probably the 2 that he gave you.
I think so. Definitely Oath and Felghana. But yeah, Falcom is a series who I've just kind of slipped by, and that's not series, sorry, a developer who I've just kind of slipped by until joining RPG Fan. I'd actually never heard of them, which maybe it's because maybe it's because of Europe. Hey, why not just blame the fact that I'm in another country? That's so easy. But yeah, East is again a series I know very little about, but I'm very interested to play because there aren't enough good action RPGs anymore. Like, they're all dying out. Like, please give me more and go ahead and explain East to me because I really want to play these games, especially because I own them.
Okay, now it's sort of funny that you mentioned that Mike Salbato, who is our RPG Fans graphics lead and the co-host of Rhythm Encounter, gave you a couple East games because a different person named Mike gave a different person on this podcast his first East game. Isn't that right, Nick?
That is right, and you even let me pick it out.
Yeah, when Nick first told me that he had never played an East game before a few months ago, I threw $20 on the on PSN at him and said, "Hey, these are the East games on PSN. Pick one and play it because you got to play an East game." And you decided on Memories of Celceta, right?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Okay. All right. Now, I love Ys, and I'm a relatively new fan of the series. I received one of them as a gift in, I want to say like 2012, 2013. It was and it was Oath and Felghana, on Steam, and I played it and loved it, and immediately played like 4 or 5 other Ys games, including one Japan import. Which there's an Ys versus Trails in the Sky fighting game, and I on PSP. So I bought that, and it's terrific. So I really like them. And Alana, I think that the two that you own are both good starting points because they didn't really start getting good until the mid 2000s, in my opinion, because the Ys series has a really strange history. The first one was in the late 80s, and then the Ys 3, which Oath and Felghana is a remake of, was a early 90s Super Nintendo game that got ported around everywhere that I think is kind of bad, actually. And then there's 2 versions of Ys 4 that were neither of which were developed by Falcom. They contracted out to 2 different companies. And then when they remade it for the Vita a few years ago, they incorporated elements of both versions. It's confusing to explain the Ys series linearly. So let's start with the 2000s version of it. There are remakes of Ys 1 and 2 that you can play, but they're a little bit dated. You attack enemies by running into them. And if you run in at an angle, it deals damage. If you run in directly, both you and the enemy take damage, and if they run into you, you take damage. So it's all you have to play this sort of like sumo wrestling, lawnmower style of combat that is a little bit of a hard sell. I don't think you need to play Ys 1 and 2 unless you've played other games and really want to see how the series started out. Then you have Oath and Felghana. It's a remake of Ys 3. All you need to know is that Adol is an adventurer, and his best friend is named Dogi, and then just jump in. It's a terrific action RPG. It's similar to Zelda in that you control one character and there's lots of sword slashing and spell casting, but it's much more frenetic action, and some of the boss fights are even like shmup games where you just have to dodge fields of laser beams and fire in order to get to the boss.
Oh, nice.
It's great. Then Ys Origin is set I think 1,000 years before Ys 1. So you play ancestors of characters that you meet in Ys 1 and have to figure out a lot about the Dark Tribe and the goddesses and a lot of stuff that's in Ys 1. Then you have Ys 4, which had a remake a few years ago called Memories of Celceta. That's a terrific game, but it plays a lot differently from Origin and Felghana in that you control a party of 3 characters, and it's and the action is still fast and frenetic and great, and the music is great, and the bosses are great, but it feels different from Oath and Felghana. Some people like I know on the Falcom Encounter podcast, I mentioned I preferred the party system combat, and Rob Fenner and Derek Heemsbergen both mentioned they prefer the single character combat, but really that's just preferences. And then the 5th one is Japan only right now. That's it's called Lost City of Sand or something. Lost City Kefin. And then the 6th one is called Ark of Napishtim, which is PS2 or Steam, and it was actually made before Felghana. So it's a little bit it plays similar to Oath and Felghana, but it's a little bit more archaic. Then Ys 7 is a PSP game that is an action party of 3 game, like Memories of Celceta, and that's my favorite game in the series. I think Ys 7 is awesome.
Nice. And I know 8 is around the corner, isn't it?
8 comes out soon, and it plays similar to 7 and Celceta, and I cannot wait to play it. It looks great. So that was a very long explanation, and I apologize. But
it's a hugely long series that I've been so unaware of for years.
Yeah, it's been around almost 30 years, and it is real good. The older ones I think are a bit of a hard sell. I've told that one of the I mentioned there were 2 Ys 4s. One of them was Super Famicom, and one of them was PC. And I heard the PC one is very, very good.
Okay.
But I haven't played it. I recommend Ys to everyone, but I think the best place to start is the remakes that are all from the 2000s. So Oath and Felghana onwards are all great, and you should try at least one of them.
I'm gonna try and get to them probably early next year. Definitely. I have no excuse. I own them. They are literally on my PC. So
yeah,
definitely.
I have Celceta saved for my winter RPG. I'm going to start it sometime in like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm very excited for it, actually. The way you were pitching it to me, it sounds like a really, really great series.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and the thing that the ones from Napishtim and Felgana onwards have in common is that the combat is just so rock solid and feels fast and satisfying, and they get pretty intense. Like a couple of the endgame bosses in Oath and Felgana took me several tries, or even back out and gain a couple levels and then try again situations. They can be pretty challenging, but they are so much fun, and I definitely all of the modern ones I've played, I would recommend to everyone. I think Felgana and 7 are my favorites, and because I think Celceta is a little too short. It doesn't feel like as meaty a quest as 7 is. And Origin is great, but Origin basically just all takes place in one dungeon, while Felgana is more of a traditional RPG with separate dungeons and towns and a quest that spans a little bit of a wider area. Okay. So that's why I think 7 and Felgana are my two favorites. But they're all good, and you definitely should play them, both of you.
We own them, so we have to.
Exactly.
No one is making you play them, but I mean, I do have a lot of room in my basement, and I'm sure I could figure out a way to lock the basement door, so yeah.
Okay.
So, oh shoot, it's my turn, isn't it?
Go for it. Go on, Mike.
Alright. There's a couple I could have gone with here. But, I'll go with the one that... Yeah, I'll go with the one that I have the least excuse to play, because it's not one that I've tried and outwardly hate, which is a series that we mentioned a couple times in this podcast. But I have never played a Suikoden game.
What?
I own the first 3, and I own 2 on as a download, and I have physical copies of 1 and 3. I've played the very beginning of 1 and wasn't that interested. But I know that it's a beloved series.
So good.
Especially 2. 2 is the one that people seem to talk the most about.
Yeah, see,
I've never played 1.
I have never played 2. I actually just bought it. It's on sale right now, thankfully. But I played the first one, and it is incredible.
Oh, see, I'm in the same boat as Mike, and I've never played it.
Now, I'm a weirdo, because I have actually read the novel it's semi-based on, because it's based on a on a Chinese sort of novel folktale called Water Margin, or sometimes called Outlaws of the Marsh, and Suikoden I think translates to Water Margin. I'm not positive about that though.
Okay.
But I mean, the book is about 108 heroes that gather to sort of defeat a common adversary. And I know that one of the gimmicks of Suikoden is that there are 108 characters to recruit.
Yes.
See, that scares me.
Yeah, but beyond that, I know almost nothing about them.
Yeah, I don't actually even know how they play, really, which is, like, 108 characters, there's so many.
I remember that you fight with 6 characters in your party at once.
Yeah, and as far as I know...
Some of the 108 don't fight. Some of them are, like, shopkeepers that you can use at your base.
That's right, yeah. So, I think they're not, like, this is the other Chrono Cross thing. There's so many characters. It feels like I actually always thought Suikoden was a strategy game until recently.
There are actual battles that take place because you're amassing so many people. You will go out and do these sort of strategic-like battles with your army.
Wait, really? Because I played a few hours of 1, and I know that you have a party of 6, which is a little big for traditional JRPG parties. But are there modes similar to a strategy RPG in this?
I don't remember. It's been at least 10 years since I've played the first one. I don't remember if it's actually, in the vein of like Fire Emblem or something. But you do definitely, there is a strategy aspect. It switches perspectives.
Is it like Final Fantasy VI where you can make multiple parties and you have to send them out separately and position them or something?
No, from what I'm remembering, you're sort of the commander. I hope to God I'm remembering correctly, or else I'm going to get so much hate mail. And you sort of just direct your army, your troops, and tell them what to do. And it's not all of the game is like that. It's mainly the 6-party system. There's some other system too. I want to say it's like rock paper scissors almost. It changes up how you play the game, and that's one of the reasons I liked it so much when I was a kid. It was something different.
All right. So now I guess none of us have played 2, which is shameful on its own, I guess. But if I were to start it up tomorrow and dive into Suikoden, would you recommend I play through the first one and go right to the second one, or would there be some other venue? Because I mean, have any of us played 3, 4, or 5?
I played the DS one.
Is that Tier Crease?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
And I loved that one. I thought that one was so much fun. That was actually I want to say it may have been my first exposure to the series. I may have played it a little before. I'm not sure. But yeah, I would say start with 1, if only for the fact that it's a quality game.
Is
it very long?
I don't want to say it's that long. No. I'd say 30 hours max. I could be terribly wrong on that.
I want to know now, so I'm going to look it up. Okay, based on how long to beat, the first one is around 20 or 25 hours.
Ah, see.
And the
That's
second one is around 40 or 45 hours. Maybe a little less.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 40.
I would not make the argument that it's an essential RPG. But I will say, it's if you missed out on it and you have the means to go back and play it, you absolutely should do so, because I think it's really something special.
All right. I won't approach it with as much urgency as I will Shadow Hearts, because I am going to try and play that for this podcast in a few months. But I am interested in Suikoden, and I might make it a priority in 2017 sometime.
You definitely should.
I am a little shamed that I have never put hard time into any of them.
Same.
So
yeah, I'm mad at both of you.
Well, I'm mad at both of you also for different reasons. But I mean, it's good that we have all of this off our chest, that we have some healthy anger towards each other now. We all should feel better about ourselves.
I do. I feel much better about myself, and much worse about both of you.
Mm-hmm.
For
Perfect.
never playing
Good.
Odin.
That's good.
And you have never played Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross, so
Yeah, the thing.
Friendships just dissolved in this episode.
Oh,
basically.
yeah. Not as bad as Peter and I arguing about Kingdom Hearts in a different episode, but we won't. Let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not open up Kingdom Hearts. You know how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know how I feel about that series. So let's not go there.
No.
So thank you for listening to us, everyone. Confess our RPG sins and just talk about some great series that some of the 3 of us should have played but haven't. So we have a lot of fun content coming up in Retro Encounter. Josh, Chris, and I have been playing Diablo 3, and we're going to discuss that in 2 episodes that will release in December. We have a lot of fun bonus round episodes planned out in advance for you as well. You recently heard us talk about Final Fantasy VI, and I'm not sure which ones we have lined up for you next, but after the Diablo 3 discussion, we will have plenty of other topics to banter at length on this show. So, but before we close out, Alana, can you give us some of your social media for the listeners?
Okay. So I'm on Twitter at Alana Hagues, and obviously I have Diving Falcons on the board. So if you want to talk to me about anything, just give me a shot. Recommend me RPGs all the time as well, because the backlog's never big enough, basically. So.
It's all, my backlog is always growing, but if we recommend RPGs to you, we probably should recommend ones that are available in the UK, right?
I'll try and get them affordable ones, because there are some that I don't own that are too expensive.
All right, so Nick, where can we find you on Twitter and elsewhere?
I am at the Ezio Kinway on Twitter, and then you can email me at nickr@rpgfan.com, and that's where you should direct all of your hate mail towards me having not played the Chrono series.
Okay. And if you want to direct
Yeah.
hate mail or fan mail or any kind of mail at Retro Encounter in general, you can email us at retro@rpgfan.com. I check that account every week, and I respond to anything that we get, even if it's just RPG fan members trolling me. But if you want to bug me on social media, I am Monsoon on the RPG Fan forums and at The Real Monsoon on Twitter. And if you, let's see, what else is there to mention? Oh, right, rate and review us on iTunes. It helps the podcast be a little bit more visible and reach more people. And definitely react to our episode postings on the RPG Fan forums and on Facebook. So, with that said, all three of us are ashamed to have told you what we have, but now we feel better for having done so. Goodbye, everybody.